Next at 10 o'clock, a family in Baltimore are outraged after a 9-year-old girl is shot.
You know, they ain't deserve that, you know, they kids.
Crimes against children are high. Fox 45 goes beyond the numbers and puts faces to the youth crime crisis. Renewed calls for action to the violence out of Annapolis. New life is breathed into a stalled bill supported by City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, who wants to lock up gun offenders longer. Fallout from that newly released Predator Priest report.
The day of reckoning will happen.
As Maryland moves towards helping victims find justice, a new warning from the church that some parishes may close. A day late, but worth the wait.
We're winning the World Series. I'm saying we're winning the World Series. That's what it is.
The sights and sounds from the Orioles home opener. And there were plenty of fireworks.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Maxine Stryker.
And I'm Kai Jackson. The first week of April turns into a bloody week in the city of Baltimore.
Already 23 people shot this month, 6 of them 18 or younger. The latest, a 9-year-old girl shot Thursday in southeast Baltimore.
It feels like sad because like little kids go and play, and like it just feels sad knowing that something like that could happen near anywhere.
Well, tonight we have team coverage of the ongoing crime crisis. Mackenzie Frost has the frantic efforts to pass crime bills in Annapolis as the session wraps up Monday.
But we begin with Keith Daniels in another violent week, seeing children caught up in the gunfire yet again. Keith.
Well, Maxine, fortunately, that 9-year-old girl survived the shooting. A bullet, pierced her ankle. Police working now trying to determine exactly what happened as another juvenile is caught up in the city's gun crime crisis. Gun violence and juveniles in Baltimore City. The issue of youth involvement in the crime crisis reignited tonight after the shooting of a 9-year-old girl in southeast Baltimore Thursday afternoon. According to police, in the past week, there have been 6 people under the age of 20 shot but survived. That's almost 1 per day. 4 boys, 2 girls, ages ranging from 9 to 18 years old. That includes 2 15-year-old victims. There's 1 fatality, an 18-year-old male shot and killed Monday. This week, residents concerned over the constant gun violence, including Nancy Rader, where police worked a deadly quadruple shooting on her block in northeast Baltimore Saturday.
You do get scared because we're a family who likes to use our porch in the summertime and get a little nervous sitting out there. You don't know if somebody's going to ride by and shoot.
Tuesday, at a protest rally outside Baltimore City Schools headquarters, in the crowd, Michelle Hines, the mother of Isaiah Carter, her 16-year-old son, shot and killed outside Patterson High School last month.
To me, Isaiah was a martyr for a larger cause. I'm blaming the structure here in Baltimore City. I'm blaming whether it's the school system, whether it's the police, whatever it is. The system here needs to change.
Now, a 9-year-old girl caught up in that triple shooting Thursday on McElderry Street at Northeast Avenue. A triple shooting on the block. One of the victims, that little girl. Disturbing news for one neighbor.
What the kid had to do with it, you know? That's what makes this stuff crazy.
Well, Mayor Brandon Scott has said he's taken immediate action to address this youth violence in the city, including working with city partners like City Public Schools and the City Public Health Department to help identify those youth most at risk of becoming a victim or a perpetrator. Well, live tonight, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
All right, Keith, thank you. Well, several teenagers have also been suspects in violent crimes this year. A 16-year-old is facing first-degree murder charges in the death of Deontay Dorsey, who was shot and killed near Edmondson High School. And this week, police arrested a 15-year-old in connection with the shooting death of Olympic boxer Ernest Hall, one of 6 people shot in a mass shooting just last month. Now, funeral services were held for Hall this afternoon. He owned the Lightning Quick Fit gym in Mount Vernon and competed at the 2016 Olympic trial. Friends and neighbors told Fox 45 News he was a shining light in their lives.
Baltimore police have confirmed a homicide about 4 o'clock this afternoon in West Baltimore. Police say a man was stabbed in his arm inside of a home along West North Avenue near the Penn North subway station. Police say he was bleeding when medics arrived and died at the scene. Anyone with information is asked to call Metro Crime Stoppers.
This year's legislative session wraps up in just over 72 hours, and guns and crime, they remain top priorities in Annapolis. But both parties seem to have different priorities. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost looks into why some tough on crime bills are stalling.
Senate Bill 1, that's a piece of legislation that looks to curb where legal gun owners can bring their firearms in public, really has been a priority for most of the Democrats here in Annapolis during this session. But there have been some other pieces of legislation looking at safe storage plans, but really the tougher penalty plans, mainly pushed by Republicans, have stalled. One specifically, the Violent Firearms Offender Act, which supporters say would help crack down on repeat gun offenders, especially repeat violent offenders. That piece of legislation was a priority for former Governor Larry Hogan and continues to be introduced by Republicans. One GOP senator tells me it's like Groundhog Day with some of these plans.
The joke is, they're on the side of milk cartons trying to find them because we can't find these bills. They're stuck in committee.
Why do you think they are stuck in committee? Where's the political will?
I don't know. I wish I could answer that.
Good afternoon.
Democrats see it very differently. Chair of the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee, Senator Will Smith, says the caucus has made curbing violence a priority, even though some of those tough on crime bills won't move forward.
Public safety is our #1 priority, and we've put forth legislation that I think will make every Marylander safer. There's still more coming. We're still, in 15 minutes, we're going back into committee to deal with some more of those issues that deal with gun violence, not only in Baltimore City, but throughout the state of Maryland. So public safety is and always has been our #1 priority.
And that bill that has been a priority by City State's Attorney Ivan Bates that seeks to level the playing field for sentences for misdemeanor gun offenders, that intent has been added to a different House bill. The Senate is expected to move forward with it on Friday, then sending it over to the House, setting up for a final vote potentially on the final day of session come Monday. In Annapolis, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Next week, City State's Attorney Ivan Bates will mark his first 100 days in office. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost will host a town hall with Bates to talk about the milestone on Thursday night, April 13th at 7. We invite you to join us at New Metropolitan Baptist Church at 1501 McCullough Street, or watch the town hall live on foxbaltimore.com.
We want to know what you think. Who shares the blame for the rising crime and violence among young people? Lawmakers, parents, schools, or all of the above? So far, 81% of those who voted say all of the above. You can head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. Lawmakers at the city and state level are appearing to be responding to public pleas to keep a scholarship program in place. Members of the State House and Senate reached a compromise to keep the state-funded Boost program at the end of March. Boost provides scholarships for low-income families to send their children to private or parochial schools. Senator Corey McCray says it's a win-win.
There are moments where compromise is just important, and that's what we can't forget to, and that's what we should always center ourselves around, making sure that how do we solve those differences.
Governor Wes Moore had pushed for Boost funding to be phased out, saying that money should be directed to public schools instead. Another move reflecting public support, the decision to keep Baltimore Collegiate School open for boys. After threats of closure, the school got a reprieve from the City School Board of Commissioners.
Fox 45 News is making your voice heard. Scan the QR code on your screen. That will take you to our website, where we've put together a list of email addresses and phone numbers for your state senators and delegates, including the House Speaker and Senate President. A beautiful sight at Camden Yards as the fireworks cap off. An Orioles win to start the home season. Rocco DeSangro was at the ballpark all afternoon, and there's a ton of excitement, Rocco, surrounding the team this year.
Yeah, Maxine, excitement comes with success. Fans want to watch a winning ball club, plain and simple. And the O's winning 83 games a season ago, Birdland got a small taste of the post-rebuild success. It was like a sea of orange and black took over Camden Yards today. O's faithful showed out for this one. Gunnar Henderson playing in his first home opener. Birds already with a 3-0 lead. Gunnar joins in on the fun RBI double. Makes it a 4-0 ball game. The Yankees would not go away, though. They would take the lead. O's would tie it at 5. Ramon Arias going to deliver in the 7th, and the Birds are back in front. Then it's Urias. Check out this play. No outs, 2 on. The Gold Glover getting it done with the double play. With the Yankees threatening, That was huge as the O's hold on to beat the Yankees 7-6. And that crowd, that sellout, it played a huge factor in the win.
Great energy in the ballpark. Players fed off it. You could definitely feel, the excitement. A lot of sometimes we play the Yankees here in the past few years. There's been quite a few Yankees fans. Tonight it was definitely a Baltimore crowd all the way through, and it was awesome to be a part of.
Well, we're going to hear from Gunnar Henderson following his first home opener at Camden Yards and reveal our Prep Player of the Week coming up in the late edition of Sports Unlimited.
All right, Rocco, thank you. Well, O's fans are excited, as you can imagine, for opening day, taking to Twitter to celebrate that win. Mike says, watch out, the Orioles are hot. Indeed, they are. And Serge says, keep it simple, saying yes, sir, after the big win today. That's something I like to say a lot, Serge. Trace is dreaming big, saying the Orioles are World Series bound. It's early, but we do like that kind of excitement. And how about some bird solidarity? The Ravens share this message, saying the birds of a feather flock together. We know that indeed. Jet?
Yeah, that's right. Birds of a feather certainly flock together. Speaking of, we've got a nice view of Camden Yards in the background. We had a cloudy day, and still right now it is pretty cloudy here in Baltimore. Across the state, our temperatures are mainly in the 40s and 50s. Not too bad for this hour. And as we head into the next few hours, temperatures drop to the 30s and 40s. If you are traveling anywhere for the Easter holiday this weekend, tomorrow looks great. You do have the green light. It's going to be a cloudy and cool day, but the good news is that by Easter Sunday, we're talking sunshine and higher temperatures. Then as we head into the rest of the week, those numbers soar to the 80s. I'll let you know when we warm up and what to expect as we finish the weekend coming up in my full forecast. Back to you.
Next on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight, relief from survivors and the fallout from that bombshell report on the Baltimore Archdiocese and abuse of victims. What the church is warning about tonight. Baltimore County's next top cop has been nominated. The changes he'd like to make if he's confirmed as chief. And still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10:30 tonight, new fallout from the Kerwin education plan in Maryland. After years of warning, the bill comes due. And there's sticker shock, which leads to hesitation. We'll have more coming up in just a moment. A sinkhole opens up in Bowie this evening, shutting down Maple Road. This is in Prince George's County. You can see that sinkhole along the side of the road in someone's front yard. Police believe heavy rain over the past 36 hours may have contributed to that sinkhole. 7 people are arrested in Annapolis this afternoon, part of a CASA protest demanding health care for uninsured Maryland immigrants. They marched at the steps of the State House during legislative session today, demanding lawmakers pass the Access to Care Act. It removes immigration status as a requirement on the state health insurance application. In a major win for church sex abuse survivors, an all-encompassing report on what went on for decades in the Baltimore Archdiocese is released this week. Now, Maryland lawmakers are helping victims seek justice. Fox 45's Jeff Abel has more on what effect that could have on churches here in Baltimore. Jeff?
You know, leaders of the Catholic Church began weeks ago warning members of the Catholic Church about the possibility of church closings. And tonight, that possibility appears even more certain. In Fells Point, the Catholic footprint is firmly planted in every corner of the community.
Just where you're standing right now, we have 3 Catholic churches within 6 blocks of one another.
Ed Marcinko is a lifelong Catholic who has lately been concerned about the direction of the church. Last week, he and other parishioners at Baltimore's Holy Rosary Catholic Church met with members of the Archdiocese who delivered some difficult news.
They stated that by 2024, they're going to make some type of decision on whether to close parishes or merge them.
With congregations dwindling, the threat of church closings appears to be growing. And this week, the threat grew even more when the legislature approved a measure eliminating the statute of limitations and allowing any survivor of abuse to sue their abuser at any age, at any time.
I just want these people to understand that you are heard. You are not alone.
After lawmakers approved the measure, survivors of abuse predicted a flood of fresh lawsuits against the Catholic Church.
I'm hoping that will prompt other people who have been in the shadows. Their example will bring those people forward.
In our economy, money talks, and the only way that children are really going to be safe is if institutions know that they will have to pay if they...
The day of reckoning will happen.
In Fells Point, parishioners are now bracing for impact, but hoping their community will be spared when church leaders decide which move to make next.
I'm just hoping that my community, my neighborhood, will spare of anything drastically happen. I'm deeply religious, and I'm going to have to make a decision. And I will continue my Catholic faith. I will.
Well, according to parishioners, church leaders say they will be deciding by the end of the year which move to make next. We are live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. If you'd like to read the Attorney General's report in its entirety, you can at foxbaltimore.com. A guilty verdict in a deadly stabbing trial in Baltimore. 26-year-old Brandon Bashore was standing trial for stabbing and killing 33-year-old Darrell Hudson 2 years ago in East Baltimore. He claimed self-defense. Today, he was found guilty of second-degree murder. Dharu Vignaraja represents Hudson's family, who had been vocal about how police and the city state's attorney's office handled the case. He says they feel some closure.
You know, there are no winners in cases like this, but this does bring a measure of comfort and closure to a family that has fought so hard for so long. It shouldn't require a mother to stand up to the system, to fight on behalf of her dead son. That's what it took here.
The guilty verdict for second-degree murder carries a maximum sentence of 40 years in prison.
Rather than address the issue of banning assault weapons, my former colleagues, the Republican supermajority, are assaulting democracy.
When things break down where we cannot continue to create and discuss ideas, this is where we get to.
A controversial history is made in Tennessee as 2 black Democratic lawmakers are expelled from the House of Representatives. They were demanding stronger gun laws in Tennessee following that deadly mass shooting at a Christian school last month. Republicans say it wasn't the time or place for protests. It's the first time lawmakers have been given the boot without support from both parties. Jackie DePillar from our Sinclair sister station in Nashville has the fallout.
Cries of protest echoing through the Tennessee House chambers Thursday night.
Supporters in tears as the House expelled Justin Jones and Justin J. Pearson and saved Representative Gloria Johnson. Fellow Democratic representatives angered and saddened by the expulsions. They're quick to point out the House chose to expel 2 young black men and save their white peer.
The horrific indictment on the Tennessee GOP, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves.
It's a concern shared by the Nashville NAACP.
This is simply a gross form of racism.
But Republican lawmakers say race didn't factor into their decision.
I just don't think that's accurate at all.
At the start of the expulsion hearing, lawmakers presented a video of the day in question. It shows the 3 members approach the well without permission, protesting for gun reform. Republican leaders say Johnson's behavior didn't reach the level of Jones and Pearson, simply standing beside them rather than yelling. Leader William Lamberth says that's the reason some members chose to keep Johnson over Jones and Pearson.
They simply thought that Representative Johnson had made her case and that she did not yell, she did not wave signs, she did not have a bullhorn. She was very clear about that. And for the members that I spoke to, it came down to the evidence.
But the NAACP president isn't satisfied with that answer.
Throughout the history of the dark-skinned man, there's always an excuse, always a reason, always some cause that would end up with us being either expelled, demoted, held back. This is just an excuse.
Republican lawmakers say expulsion was the appropriate punishment for the 2 men as they violated House rules and prevented voices of other members from being heard. In Nashville, I'm Jackie Del Pilar.
Coming up, Noah's Law is designed to protect you from drunk drivers, but some argue it isn't strong enough. The proposed changes to make roads safer. The uncertain future of a common abortion drug, the conflicting opinions from federal judges.
We had a cloudy start to the weekend, and tomorrow the clouds linger and temperatures will be below average. We're looking at highs only reaching the mid-50s, but the good news is that as we head into Easter Sunday, temperatures reach the upper 50s and the low 60s. We'll have plenty of sunshine, and the weather gets even better by Monday. I'll let you know how long our warming trend lasts coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Taking a look right now at the Fox box on the top left, a federal judge in Texas says he's suspending FDA approval of an abortion pill, saying the FDA violated federal law. A federal judge ordered the FDA to keep those pills, saying it's not the court's role to interfere. The Texas judge is pausing his ruling for 7 days. Top right, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas in hot water for allegedly accepting luxury trips almost every year for 2 decades, all funded by a Republican megadonor. And Thomas didn't disclose them on proper forms. Some argue it's conflict of interest for a sitting judge. Thomas says he didn't need to disclose the trips since the donor is among his personal friends, which is allowed under current court policy. On the bottom left, scary moments at the Masters Golf Tournament in Augusta, Georgia, as a large tree, a massive tree, fell near the 15th hole. That tree went down near some fans. No one was hurt. Bad weather forced 2 suspensions of the tournament. On the bottom right, Easter is almost here, and be careful what you keep around your pets. A study shows dogs suffer from food poisoning more around Easter than any other holiday due to a large amount of chocolate and candy around, which is toxic to dogs. You can be the first to know about breaking news by signing up for News on the Go. Go to foxbaltimore.com and click on Mobile Alert Sign Up under the Station tab. You can also download the Fox 45 app for your smartphone. Search WBFF in your app store. Coming up at 10:30, a changing of the guard within the Baltimore County Police Department. The pick for commissioner from the county executive and how he plans to change things if he's confirmed. And the O's not the only hot ticket in town. Tonight, from Utah Street, we hear fans lined up to hear the boss. We're following 3 big stories at 10:30 tonight. Only 3 days left in the legislative session. How lawmakers are taking aim at key issues, including education and marijuana. Noah's Law protects people from drunk drivers. How it could be improved. The conversation in Annapolis. And a new commissioner at the helm of the Baltimore County Police Department. His goals for the department moving forward. Let's begin there. Baltimore County Executive John Olszewski has tapped Robert McCullough to lead the department. McCullough is a 3-decade veteran and says changes are coming. Fox 45's Vincent Hill explains.
Yeah, out with the old way of thinking and in with the new. That's according to Baltimore County's new potential top cop, Robert McCullough.
I'm honored to take part in this historic announcement.
A history-making day in Baltimore County. County Executive Johnny Olszewski nominating Robert McCullough as the first black police chief.
An 18-year-old kid from West Baltimore. My goal was not to make history. My goal was to work hard.
McCullough served with the Baltimore County Police for over 35 years before his retirement in 2021. With his confirmation still looming, McCullough already making a promise to residents.
Every person in Baltimore County deserves to feel safe and know they are safe in the places where they live, work, and raise their families.
A top concern after a rash of violent crimes, including 3 people sexually assaulted at gunpoint and the murder of a 17-year-old Baltimore City teen, both in the heart of Towson.
My worst nightmare is to get the call that I don't have a son anymore. That's where this town is heading, unfortunately, and it's supposed to be a nice college and a nice town.
For months, county leaders giving the same answer when it comes to stopping crime, including the former interim chief, Dennis Delp.
Using technologies like a license plate reader, additional cameras, and that they may be covert or non-covert cameras in the area to assist with deterrence and apprehension purposes.
McCullough says it's time for a different strategy.
You can't just keep using the same thing over and over again. You know, the bad guys, they pick up on those things too. So,
although he acknowledges technology is a tool in deterring crime, McCullough says fighting crime comes down to boots on the ground.
We'll use a variety of different techniques and rotate those things to address it, but we will be proactive, not reactive when it comes to crime.
Another concern from county residents, McCullough is hoping to address.
Not really the people living in the neighborhood, the other people coming through.
Crimes that seem to spill over from Baltimore City into Baltimore County.
From day one, I'll be reaching out to Commissioner Harris, and crime knows no boundaries. So we'll be working together.
Now, McCullough's confirmation hearing is scheduled for next week with a final vote scheduled for April 17th. In Baltimore County, Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Last year, former Chief Melissa Hyatt received a vote of no confidence from some members of the FOP. Some accused Hyatt of not listening to officers and not doing enough to address crime in the county, which saw 55 homicides in 2021. Hyatt stepped down at the beginning of County Executive Johnny Olszewski's second term. We continue session 2023 coverage. Lawmakers are debating the blueprint for education or the Kerwin plan. Mayor Brandon Scott called the mandatory funding requirement a gut punch. Other jurisdictions are grappling with the surprise costs as well. Republicans have long criticized the 10-year plan as too expensive and without guaranteed improved outcomes for children. Democrats overrode former Governor Larry Hogan's veto of the bill, but now may be open to tweaking it.
I don't agree with the mayor of Baltimore very often, but in this case, I certainly do. You know, I've got counties on the Eastern Shore that have said for the entire time since Kerwin has been passed that they cannot afford it. So there's going to be one or two things that happen. Either the formulas change for funding or we see some type of Kerwin light.
Are you open to changing the funding formula for locals who are worried that they can't continue to tap their reserves moving forward?
I think we're always back every year. And I think we're always open to make sure if the facts and data are there, we will address it. You know, certainly we know on May 1st when the public emergency, when the emergency is expired, there will be a change in calculations and Medicaid will have a redetermination and we'll see what the roles look like with the changes in qualifications. But that's why we have our interim committees.
Well, lawmakers are also trying to hammer out final details on Maryland's cannabis plan today. There was a debate on how high the tax rate would be and what group saw that revenue. But it doesn't look like Marylanders will be able to order any recreational pot online, at least not now.
There was a concern from those of us in Senate Finance about internet sales and the potential delivery from businesses to customers. We at least were able to kind of kick the can down the road on that to 2025, but that will give us time to collect some data on that, see what other states have been doing.
When the final days of the year's session, those who oppose drunk driving are calling for more accountability on the roads. Lawmakers are pushing to strengthen what's known as Noah's Law. Brad Bell from our Sinclair sister station in Washington explains.
The memories are fresh and bittersweet when Vicki Brown visits this youth football field. It's where her 12-year-old son Darius excelled, but it also bears his name, because in May of 2004, Darius was killed by a drunk driver who rear-ended the Browns' car going 125 miles an hour.
There's this hole in my heart that I will forever have.
Vicky honors her son by fighting drunk driving. That's her testifying before a state Senate committee last month in support of a bill she says would close a loophole in the Maryland law which requires ignition interlock systems be installed in the cars of those caught drunk driving. It exempts those who get probation before judgment.
If this law was in place in 2004 and that gentleman that killed my son, maybe my son would still be here.
The bill to require the ignition interlocks for those who get PBJs cleared the Senate committee, but is now stuck in a House committee where some members don't believe it's necessary. That's why Vicky is speaking out again and why a coalition of advocates is mounting a final pressure campaign to get the bill through. Kurt Erickson heads the Washington Regional Alcohol Program.
They're using this escape route by getting a PBJ and not having anything, not having any conditions of probation.
So when we get down to the nitty-gritty of it all, it's pushing this bill through so that we can save lives.
It's impossible to know if there will be action at this point, but with the legislative session ending Monday night at midnight, it seems doubtful.
In consumer news right now, Sunsea Energy is no longer allowed to operate in Maryland. The New Jersey-based energy supplier has thousands of customers in the state. The Maryland Public Service Commissioner says Sunsea would go door to door, signing people up for their service without permission. The company won't be able to take on any new customers, and any existing customers will be returned to their default service by this Monday at 5 o'clock. Here in Baltimore, that would be Baltimore Gas Electric. Hey, who wouldn't recognize that orange beard up on the Jumbotron at Camden Yards? The Orioles took time to honor our own traffic jam Jimmy during the first home opener since his passing last May. Thank you, Baltimore Orioles, for such a classy move. We love Jimmy and we miss him dearly, like we know you do as well. Well, the new season brings new hope for Orioles fans, and the team will play in front of bigger crowds after last year's turnaround. The sellout crowd was expected today, but with O's fans decked out in orange and black, the expectations are pretty high. Parents and fans we talked with hope that there will be a great season this year and hopefully not the only packed house.
It's a great kickoff for the spring. The kids love watching their team play, and the crowd's electric.
Well, how many losses we have, we're not losing another game. We're winning the World Series. I'm saying we're winning the World Series.
A nonstop weekend for bars and restaurants downtown. The O's and Yankees are back at it Saturday and Sunday. And with all the excitement in the air, the idea of a brand new ballpark district is being battered around right now. The thought is to model the project around the Battery that's in Atlanta, Hot Atlanta, which turned the Braves Stadium into somewhat of an entertainment destination. Public funds would help pay for the project, but some economic experts say it's not always worth it.
They're not tied to Baltimore necessarily. As we've seen, many NFL teams, many major league teams have moved around. So this kind of investment by the state is somewhat risky, and the return is somewhat dubious. I would argue that there's been significant private investment down to that area between the casino, between the entertainment venue, the Paramount, between Topgolf. The other thing, too, is that creating a business district might then displace places like Pickles Pub.
Dr. Darius Irani argues taxpayers really won't see any of those benefits. He says most of the profits will go into private hands. We wanted to share some of our favorite Orioles submissions on Chime In. Keith Edmonds says he got some birthday tickets, great seats to enjoy a win over the Yankees. Great job and happy birthday. And Courtney got the party started early. She's ready for a full season of tailgating and hopefully plenty of O's wins. And check out this, the whole squad apparently ready. Look at this, Kara Nichols shares this picture of her kids ready for some baseball. Keep sending those pictures and videos through Chime In at foxbaltimore.com or through WBFF's app. Well, the O's opener isn't the only hot ticket in town today. The Boss is in town, officially opening up the new CFG Bank Arena. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band played in front of a packed house this evening. The lines were long, including a few fans who went to the game as well. Most of the fans weren't bothered by the wait.
When the yellow gloves say you can see the Boss, then you see the Boss.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But not until then.
What song are you hoping to hear tonight? I'm Dancing in the Dark.
Turn it around.
Why don't you understand? We went up to the light.
We'll expect big crowds if you're downtown tomorrow as well. First pitch of that Orioles-Yankees game is at 7:05. Then the Eagles are playing at CFG Bank Arena. That concert starts at 8 o'clock. You can hear Hotel California. Love the Eagles. The White House is pushing back on some proposals to ban transgender women and girls from participating on some female sports teams. This as the Department of Education announces a proposed change to Title IX. The National Desk, Ryan Smith, explains.
The Biden administration Thursday calling for an end to across-the-board bans on transgender student athletes, the first official counterpunch to Republican bans being implemented across the country. In a statement, Education Secretary Miguel Cardona said every student should be able to have the full experience of attending school in America, including